Welcome to Jobbed Out, the wrestling editorial that reminds you that we all like a good clean fight, but this is just ridiculous. In the 1980s and 90s, there was a bit of rebellion against the family-friendly pro wrestling that we've been served on mainstream TV. People didn't want bright colors and goofy stories, they wanted violence. From this need, deathmatch wrestling was born, and especially popularized in Japan. Considered more violent versions of your standard hardcore match, there's no limit to the different types of death matches we've seen. Barbed wire matches, first blood matches, light tube matches, Taipei death matches. That's where wrestlers tape their hands, dunk their fists in glue, and cover the glue with glass shards. I think our society has a bit of a problem for blood and gore. Anyway, the subject of today's video is nothing like these. Because today, in wrestling history, August 21st, 1995, one day after IWA of Japan presented their most famous show, Kawasaki Dream, that's the show that gave us Cactus Jack against Terry Funk in a barbed wire exploding ring time bomb death match. Tonight, we got a very unique way to unwind and take a breath from all that violence. Mr. Goto, who lost the day before to Dan Severn, and Mr. Gannosuke, who lost in a barbed wire board and chain match, would team up to take on the IWA World Tag Champions, the Headhunters, in a bathhouse death match. Now, just to clear things up, bathhouses in Japan and many places around the world are very different from what they are in the West. In Canada and the US, bathhouses are traditionally a front. They're a location primarily used by the gay community for secret hookups. But the rest of the world treats bathhouses as they were traditionally intended, and that's very genuinely to take a bath, especially in communities where households may not have hot water or tubs of their own. Still, a very peculiar setting for a wrestling match, to say the least. Now, you can find this match all over YouTube, but a bit of a warning, because we are literally talking about a place where people are bathing. There's significant nudity, cause duh. So our contestants are introduced, and the heel headhunters startle the staff because, and I think you'd agree with me on this one, regular bathhouse attendees probably want to keep to themselves and expect peace and quiet, rather than get a pair of 350-pound Puerto Rican guys shouting at them.
That was air escaping from the folds of his fat.
Woo!
Goto also decides to put some fear into the staff for some reason, and the match begins. Now, if you're messed in the head like I am, you probably had the same question I did. How are these guys gonna have a tag match with no ring? And you're not gonna believe this. While the legal men are fighting, their tag partners are to wait for the tag while sitting in hot tubs. You can't make this up, Jesus Christ. So Goto and one of the headhunters, they're identical twins, so I'm not going to pretend I know which is which. We're going to go with A and B. But Goto and, let's say B, settle in for a nice soak. Gannosuke and headhunter A start off on the mat. After a very short exchange, we see how tags work, and oh my god. Gannosuke has to walk through a crowd of uncomfortably naked Japanese men to tag Goto, just so Goto can get out of the tub while their opponent just sits emotionlessly. Goto immediately takes Headhunter A into the women's bathroom, which leads me to the spot where I have to decide whether I'm gonna censor a bunch of breasts and bush, or if I just use clips that hide that excitement, so to speak. The camera then cuts to an older gentleman whose job, I guess, is to keep the heat going, so he loads some wood into the fire. So many things I never thought I'd say while I'm talking about wrestling. Mr. Goto and A make a point to scare the female onlookers, forcing some of them into a corner while they brawl. There's some of the bush I have to censor. The two make their way back to the main mat as their partners cheer on from the tubs. Gannosuke is tagged back in while Goto and B start a splash fight. For reasons I don't understand, a referee blows a whistle, the headhunters switch positions, but the others don't, and I'm pretty sure B goes right back into the tub where he was to start. I don't get it. Goto, who I could swear was the good guy, begins drowning Headhunter B in this tub. Seriously, get in your own corner, dude. Gannosuke puts A in an armbar, and Goto continues trying to murder Headhunter B. We get a weird dissolve from the fight to the boiler room before cutting back to the action, and Gannosuke and Goto appear to have the upper hand. Though, by upper hand, I mean Goto keeps reaching into the other tub to drown B. Eventually, B gets sick of this, pulls himself out of the tub, and forfeits. No, seriously. Goto and Gannosuke are declared the winners as Goto looks more relaxed than any pro wrestler I've ever seen winning a match. From there we get a pan of the horror and dismay from the onlookers as Headhunter A asks B what happened.
B, what? Hatsui me. Come on, B. Why you lose?
Now, you know what? That's actually a perfectly fair question. While the others were having a wrestling match, this dude sat in a tub and then forfeited rather than move to the other side. He didn't fight back either, he was just getting attacked by Goto repeatedly and kept his eyes forward like an NPC. The headhunters hit the showers, which is actually kind of funny considering the venue. I think the idea is similar to a sauna. The longer you stay in, the more likely you are to pass out. And since Headhunter A never tagged B in, they just kept adding logs until he couldn't take the heat anymore. Our winner's hands are raised, and what the hell did I just watch? I mean, thankfully this was the least violent, least bloody, least dangerous deathmatch I've ever watched, but why a bathhouse? Clearly the venue's fine with it, and all the disruption to their usual business didn't mean much because they actually held a sequel not long after. That sequel also had Goto and Gannosuke, so I guess this is their turkey bowl. And I know, part of the confusion is gonna be on me. I don't speak Japanese, I didn't follow mid-90s IWA Japan, I'm pretty well established as not being a big deathmatch guy. But there's something jarring about going from barbed wire boards and exploding rings to splish splash, they were taking a bath. Now how were they to know there was a deathmatch going on? This is an actual mindfuck, and I kind of appreciate them doing this. I mean, everything about this match was awful. The venue doesn't suit wrestling or a brawl. There wasn't much to work with for weapons or environmental hazards except water. The headhunters are too big to really wrestle. Goto and Gannosuke are both pretty banged up themselves. Even making a tag seemed wildly inconvenient because of the tub aspect that I didn't even realize was the cause of the finish the first 2 times I watched it. Still, I'd rather take this match over an anus explosion death match any day. And yes, that is real. And yes, Mr. Gannosuke was in that one too. Now, of course, this is all just my opinion though, and I do gotta ask you, what do you think of this bathhouse death match? I mean, nobody's gonna pretend the work rate was there, but was this a unique enough concept to pique your interest? What is your view in general when it comes to wrestling in non-wrestling venues? Was it worth a shot, or should they stick to wrestling in a wrestling ring? Let me know what you think in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more, because I want you to be a part of this conversation too. For now though, I better get my shoulders off the mat, so thank you for tuning in to Jobbed Out. Hit the showers. Splish splash, I was taking a bath. Now how was I to know there was a deathmatch going on? They were a splishing and a splashing. They were a rocking and a rolling.